UFC 299 is coming up this weekend, and today, guys, we are going to take a look at the card, and we are going to gush over the vast majority of these fights, and we are going to talk about how good is this UFC card. Does it stack up to UFC 300? We don't know. It does, but there's been actually a lot of conversation between whether or not this actually is better than UFC 300. My initial thoughts are it's not better than UFC 300, but regardless, it's one of the best cards in a very, very long time. I'd love to know what you guys think after the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's take a look at the card. Starting off with Joanne Wood versus Marnia Moros. Now, guys, to be honest with you, there's nothing too special about this fight. It's your typical WMMA fight, but hey, you know what? A plus for this is it is opening up the early prelims of the night, so I am A-okay with this. It's probably gonna be a little bit of a sleeper, to be honest. Then we have CJ Vergara versus Azu Almabayev, and guys, I don't know why more people aren't talking about this, to be honest with you. There's a lot of people who are really talking about how Azu Almabayev is like a shoo-in to win this fight. I don't think that's the case at all. I'm picking him to win, but of course, like, anytime CJ Vergara is part of a fight, I am so down to watch it because I love watching CJ Vergara. The dude brings it every single time, no matter what. He is a pleasure to watch in that octagon, and I cannot wait to see him against a contender in Azu Almabayev, somebody with so much hype, somebody who's lived up to it so far. This is a banger. This is one of the fights in the card that I am most excited for. Then we have Robelis Despine taking on Josh Parisian. This fight can go one of two ways. Robelis comes in like we know Robelis to do and just get a TKO or a KO in just about 10 seconds. Either that or Josh Parisian can actually like maybe hold him up against the cage and maybe even possibly find a finish of his own. I believe this fight is going to end in a finish, but hey, when you have somebody with no experience like Robelis Despine, we might see a little bit of a Shamil Gaziev performance. Then we have Felipe Lins versus Ion Cutelaba. I love watching the Hulk fight, man. You never know what's going to happen when he comes in there. One of the most inconsistent fighters of all time, but it always fun to watch. Felipe wins is an absolute banger as well. This fight should end it very violently, in my opinion. Who's going to win? I don't know. I'm leaning towards Felipe Lins, but this fight itself is a banger, dude. Then we have a fight that's fun and very interesting because we have Michael Oleksiejczyk, and I always pronounce his name wrong. I apologize. And he's taking on Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira, I cannot wait to see him at middleweight and have a fight that lasts a little bit longer because he looked so good, so refreshed, so in shape at the new weight class. And Oleksiejczyk is like the perfect opponent to really... I know he's already had his introduction, but I'm taking a look at this and thinking about like, hey, it's Michel Pereira's introduction to the middleweight division here. I can't wait for this fight. Is he going to pass the test? We don't know. It's going to be fun to see. Oh, man. Then we have Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips. Guys, you tell me a Pedro Munoz fight that has been boring. It doesn't exist, man. This dude brings it every single time into the octagon, no matter who his opponent is. Kyler Phillips is a very good dance partner in himself, but I love watching Pedro Munoz fight. This guy comes in to win. This guy comes into chaos. This guy comes in to have a technical war and has no problem brawling if you want him to brawl. I love watching Pedro Munoz fight. He is one of my favorite fighters of all time. I'm going to be cheering for Pedro Munoz, and we already know if it's a Pedro Munoz fight, it's going to be fight of the night contender. Then we have an interesting fight in Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos, but I'm not going to lie, this one might be a little bit on the boring side. I can see a fight. I can see a world where Mateusz Gamrot comes in here, gets a takedowns on Rafael dos Anjos and kind of controls him, transitions a little bit, but I see this a little bit like the game plan with Jalen Turner, but I don't know, man. There's always the potential. It's too bad how dos Anjos isn't like a decade or 5 years younger because this fight would be a banger if that was the case. But this one might put a little bit of a halt on the excitement, but it's still very interesting. Then we have Caitlin Seminara taking on Macy Barber. Now, this is likely going to be a little bit of a stinker, but Macy Barber did have a very fun last fight against Amanda Ribas, so you never know. Maybe she can actually pull together. Maybe she could have a performance like that again because it was quite surprising coming from Macy Barber, who holds people up against the cage, who wrestles, and Caitlin Kuchejian, whatever the name is, Sermonara, she doesn't do a ton in the octagon, to be honest with you. Even like, I don't know, man. It's going to be a little bit of... That one's going to be a stinker, probably. Then we have Curtis Blades versus Jailton Almeida. I am very excited for this fight because, well, first of all, I'm a fan of Curtis Blades, and I like watching Jailton Almeida fight too, but I am more excited for this fight because I am disagreeing with the majority of the MMA community on this one, and Curtis Blades, I think he's going to beat Jailton Almeida fairly easily, but everybody seems to be against me, so it's kind of like raised my hype for this fight a little bit because I'm like, there's no way I'm that off because I'm confident in Curtis Blades. I bet on Curtis Blades to win this fight. I just really think it's a good matchup for him. But plus, this means a lot in the heavyweight division. It's a high-stakes fight and two great contenders going at it. I can't wait to watch it. Two highly skilled heavyweights going at it. What's there not to love? And then we have one of my dream fights, and it's been one of my dream fights for a couple years now. It's Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. I can't wait to watch the boxing technique in this fight. I can't wait to watch the stand-up beauty. It's going to be like Petr Yan versus Corey Sandhagen, where you were just watching a beautiful display of martial arts. Petr Yan's a beauty to watch. Song Yadong is amazing to watch as well. Both of their technique is an absolute pleasure to witness inside the octagon, and I cannot wait for this fight. These two are going to go at it. These two are going to be fantastic. I cannot wait to watch Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. It's literally been one of my dream fights forever. Then we have Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. This is going to be a big test for Jack Della Maddalena. If Jack Della Maddalena is getting a shot at Gilbert Burns, who I believe is number 4, but Tapology has him listed at number 3. Regardless, he's getting a shot at the top of the division now, and Gilbert Burns, I'm interested to see how he'll come back. I'm always getting excited for both of these guys when they fight. I hope Gilbert Burns ends up getting the win, but I got a question with his age, with his injury coming back now. Regardless, this is a solid top contender fight. Both guys always bring it, and what's not to love about it? Moving on to the featured fight of the night, we have Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page. Now, I don't know if this one's going to be exciting. This one has potential because we don't know if Kevin Holland's going to show up and actually care, or he's just going to goof off, and Michael Page is a little bit older now. He might have... I can see them dancing around and not doing much, or it being incredibly exciting. So this one's going to be interesting to watch. Regardless, the hype for this fight is right there. I can't wait to watch this fight, but will it play out to be that exciting? I don't really know. Then we have two of the most violent fighters in UFC history with Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Benoit Saint-Denis getting a shot at Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier coming back after that head kick with Gaethje. Dustin Poirier has never had a boring fight. Benoit Saint-Denis has never had a boring fight. Both of these guys are tough as hell. They are coming in. They want a title shot. Can Dustin Poirier knock Benoit Saint-Denis down the rankings, or is Benoit Saint-Denis the real deal and a challenge for Islam Makhachev? This is a high-stakes fight. There is no way that this is a bang. There is no chance that this fight ends up being boring. A 0% chance. It's going to end violently. It's going to be a war between the two. If not, no matter what, it's going to be fun to watch. This is the people's main event. And now we have the actual main event. Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera 2. A rematch with high stakes, man. A rematch with high stakes. The championship's on the line. Chito beat him the first time. There was controversy. Now, both guys have gone on to do amazing things since then. Chito with one little hiccup, but regardless, both of these guys are going to come in there and try to win. It's going to be a blast to watch. Can Sean O'Malley dance around over 5 rounds, hitting him with massive, massive shots, or can Chito Vera stalk this guy down, chop down the legs, and find a finish of his own? We don't know what's going to happen. I think Chito's going to be able to get the job done, but man, this is a bantamweight championship fight. The most exciting and hardest division to fight in all of combat sports history right here. So how good is this card though, guys? How can you not say it's a 10 out of 10? Like, a 10 out of 10 is an understatement, dude. This card is like an 11 out of 10. From start to finish, we have a couple little problems in there, that being like the Joanne Wood versus Mara Moros fight. But even after that, we have CJ Vergara, Azuan Babayev, Robelis Despine versus Josh Parisian, Felipe Lins versus Ion Cutelaba, Michelle Pereira versus Michael Oleg Struck, Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips, Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos, Caitlin Sermonara versus Macy Barber, Curtis Blades versus Gelton Almeida, prelims. Petr Yan versus Song Yadong, Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena, Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis, and Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. The fact that this is contesting with UFC 300 is wild. It is an amazing card. There is no way this card doesn't deliver. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if we ended up getting a crap card? Sometimes that's how it works, but there's no chance. With the guys that are on this card, Sean O'Malley's incapable of being boring. Same kind of with Marlon Vera, Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint-Denis. We know Kevin Holland can be boring. Gilbert Burns isn't boring. Same with Jack Della Maddalena, Petr Yan, Song Yadong. They're not boring at all. There are so many fighters on here. Pedro Munoz. None of them are boring. It's going to be an incredible card. This is a 10 out of 10 card. Easy. Guys, let me know what fight you are looking forward to most. For me personally, it's Petr Yan versus Song Yadong, but I would love to know what you guys think down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Check out the complete betting guide for the card right here if you are interested, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Take care.